Warm greetings. Welcome for online video session on software engineering. Myself Jagadisha, Associate Professor, Department of Canara Engineering College, Computer Science Department. So in the last video session, we have saw about the software testing as well as software evaluation, that is module 4. Now in this video session, we'll see about the fifth module, that is project planning. So topics covered are software pricing, plan-driven development, project scheduling, and estimation technique, whereas agile planning is not there in your syllabus. So project planning, what actually a project planning? So once you have got a specification from the client, then that has to be start developing a project. For that, before development, the planning has to be put, so overall have to involve in the project, and whether the specialist has to be involved, domain knowledge, experienced person, overall have to involve has to be decided in the beginning itself. So project planning involves breaking down the work into parts and assigning this to project team members. Anticipate problems that might arise and prepare the tentative solution to those problems. The project plan, which is created at the start of the project, is used to communicate how the work will be done to the project team and customers, and to help they assess the progress on the project. So project planning is involving, that is breaking down the work into small parts, and that part will be assigned to some project team members, and the project team members will start working on that particular problem, that is the work what is assigned by the project manager. And project plan, which is created at the start of the project itself. So before development of the activity of the project, the project plan has to be done, and it's easy to communicate how work will be done to the project team. So something like a timetable, how it will be prepared beginning of the semester before class starts. So whichever who are all have to take the that is subject, that is, and at what time the subject, that is the subject has to deliver the lecturing, as well as you can see the course plan also, and what are the topic has to be taught on which date, and when the internals has to be conducted, when the examination has to be conducted, when practical has to be conducted. That is all planning. So beginning of the semester starts. The same way, even the project planning is also will be started beginning itself. So it will be helpful for the team members as well as organization to assign a work to the other members. Planning stages. In the planning stages, you have various planning stages. We'll see one by one at the proposal stages, and during the project startup phases. You can see here during the proposal stages, and another one is a project startup, and another one is a periodical stages. So at the proposal stages, when you are bidding for a contract to develop or provide a software system. So proposal stages, something like before bidding of your project, you assign or you have to that is bid the project before to get the project to the organization. That is a planning stage of the one, that is during the proposal stage. And second one is during the project startup phases. So once you propose and you got the project, then another one is a project startup phases, when you have to plan who will work on the project, how the project will be broke down into the increments, how the resources will be allocated across your company. So these are the etc. So for example, you can think that there will be one storage system, when the storage system has to be utilized by all other team members of the company. So the storage there is it may limits its that is it crosses its limits due to the access. For example, the storage limits is of around 10 GB, and 10 GB 1 GB will be allocated for each employee, and for each project. You think that 9 projects are not at all still working, but one project is start working, so it requires a more number of spaces. But since it is allotted only 1 GB, then whereas another 9 GB of for 9 other project is where still they not at all got any project, it's a simply waste of resources. So that has to be planned before itself. So since they not got the project, so one project with the space which is allocated for one team, that the space can be allocated to the running project. So this type of how the resources has to be allocated, something in the organization has to be project startup phases, that has to be put a plan beginning itself, and periodically throughout the project. When you modify your plan in the light of experience gained and information from the monitoring the progress of the work, so you start developing the project. At that time, you may come across some modification is required for the project. Then you have to do some there is a plan has to be put, or how to resolve this problem, or how we can, if we had one more module, what are the benefits of the project has to be explained in front of the customer. So then he can suggested that it can be implemented in the project. Then how to resolve or how to add that has to be planned, and start progressing the work. So these are the three that is planning stages is being proposed in the project planning. One is proposal stage, second one is a project startup, and third one is a periodical stages throughout the project. So whenever the modify of your plan is required, then you can modify the system and allow you to make more accurate estimate of the how long the work will take, etc. We can know in the periodical throughput. That's a periodical project. And proposal planning. Proposal planning is planning may be necessary with only a software requirements, outline of the software requirement. Planning may be necessary with only outline software requirements. The aim of the planning at this stage is to provide information that will be used in the setting of a prices for the system to the customer. So you may, there is a main planning is you can there is a set a price for the development to the customer of the customer for the particular project. That is the main proposal of the planning, and what are overall required for the development of the system, and what are the basic requirements to develop the system, whether it is a hardware, whether it is software, whether it is a platform, whether it is a specialist is required, whether the experienced hand is required, whether any startup that is a stressor is required, etc. All those things you can see in the proposal planning. So some of the projects you can see that depending upon the number of employees who have involved in the project and number of employee who have a master degree, number of employee who have a bachelor degrees, they were all going to see before giving a project to the customers. That is up to the developers. So that's why you have seen most of the companies, whether it is required, the requirement is there or not, they just simply recruit the people because they have to show the manpower of there is a basic degree, that is BE, Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science, whether it is a sufficient number of that is employees there or not. They have to show the requirements to the customer. Then they allot a project to the organization, then they start developing the project. At the same time, they have going to see the master degree also, whether they will also see on which platform the client or there is a developer is there is having a knowledge. And some companies, what they do when they get the project, or when before getting a project, they want to interview the person who are all involving in the that particular project. The client will there is interact with the employee, whether he has sufficient knowledge to develop this project, etc. Such type of, you can see it in the company. When you switch on to the company, you can see that. that is what and as well as there are that is parameters is required when you computing the cost of software and development project. That is effort cost, hardware and software cost, including maintenance and travel and training cost. Sometimes project when you start developing, you should travel here and there for to gain a knowledge. At that time, as well as you have to get some training is also required. So company will provide a training for you people, and the training cost as well as traveling cost is also has to be calculated while bidding a project. You have to calculate that also. So you as well as what are the hardware and software is required, and maintenance cost of that particular hardware and software, you are all have to calculate that, and you have to show the software development that is required in the project plan. And software pricing, the software pricing is the estimates are made to discover the cost to develop of producing the software system. You take into account that is hardware, software, traveling, training and effort cost, etc. That's what there is not a simple relationship between the development cost and the price charged to the customer. Broader organization, economic, political and business consideration influence the price charged. There is a economic, there is a business, political consideration, organization, etc. There is how this each and everything has to be considered. There is in the particular organization, if you see set up in some where in some area where you have to maintain, you have to give some money for the political issues. For political also, you have to give some money for or maintenance for the building, something like related to all those things. You have to give a money in such a way that you have to put a that is cost of a particular when you start developing a project. And there is a simple relationship, not a simple relationship between the development cost and the price charged to the customer. So what are the factors affecting the software pricing? What are the, so there is cost that is affecting the software pricing. We'll see the factors. Before that, we see the price of the software that is required. You can consider and sometime you can see the while bidding a software to take a contract. Well, sometimes they have given an example in a textbook also. A small software company, there is Pharmasoft employee. There is 10 software engineers are there. It has just finished a large project, but only has to contract in place that required is 5 development staff. So just in that company, it has a 10 employees there, and in that just now they have completed one project. But in contract place that requires only it requires only 5 development staffs, but they have 10 software engineers. However, it is bidding for a very large contract with a major pharmaceutical company that requires a 30% a year of effort. Okay, over 2 years, where it requires a 30% to develop a project, and over 2 years. But they required, now the company has only 10 members. But require only 5 members. Just now they completed that is a project. But in coming years, they are going to get where they require 30 members has to be involved in development of a project, whereas it takes 2 years to complete the project. So the project will not start for at least 12 months. Okay, the software won't start another 12 months. So it's just having a planning of to develop a project after 2 years. It takes 2 years, but it starts after 1 year. So you have to keep your 10 employee in your company itself. One thing, okay. At the meantime, they got an opportunity to bid in a project that requires 6 people and has to be completed in 10 months. Okay, they got a project now where it requires 6 people and has to be completed in 10 months. The cost are estimated are 1.2 billion. Sorry, 1.2 million. So they require a 10 months to develop a project, and they require 6 people. So where it cost estimated is 1.2 million. So however, to improve its competitive position, because they have to be in the market, for that what they did, so the the Pharmasoft company decided to bid the price for 0.8 million. So they have a loss at almost 0.4 million. But they doesn't because they doesn't care, because they want to get a project where it requires 30 people of 2 years project. But instead of that, keeping our employee idle, it is better to bid the project which is of 0.4 million less. At the same time, they can retain their employee in the company itself. So this means that almost it loses a money in this contract. It can retain a specialist staff, that is who have a domain knowledge for development of that coming project in another 1 year. So they can make a profit. So this is what how the project manager or project planning has to think to retain their staffs. At the same time, this is how the project planning issues take places. Okay, so we'll see now what are the factors affecting the software pricing. One is market opportunities, second one is a cost estimate uncertainty, third one is a contractual terms, and fourth one is a requirements volatility, and fifth one is a financial health. Ultimately all the projects or all are dependent on financial itself. So we'll see one by one factors that affects the software pricing. Market opportunities. A development organization may quote a low price because it wishes to move into new segment of software market. Accepting a low profit on one project may give the organization the opportunity to make a greater profit later. That's what I said in the beginning of this slide. An example of a Pharmasoft company, that pharmaceutical company. The same way, market strategy. They have to use a market strategy, because one that's in project you may gain a high profit. Another project you may not gain a profit, but you can have a normal that is end to end. That is the whatever the money that is amount you get, you can give it a salary for the employee. At the same time, you can maintain the organization, but you won't get any profit. But you have to wait. That's what, if a team here, there is a company A and company B, when they apply for a project, so always the client will give the project for one who bid very less money. So but even it will be profit for the client also, as well as the person who received the project. He will be having that is busy in doing the work, and you can apply for the project which is having a high profit, because at that time you can get a more profit. So you cannot lose your staff. So such a market there is a strategy has to be applied whenever you bid a project for the company. Accepting a low profit on one project may give the organization the opportunity to make a greater profit. The experience gained by may also help you to develop a new product. So you may always, you can see that some organization will always ask a that is experienced person is required. Then at that time you can take a small project where you may not get much profit. So you can practice, that is you can develop the product and you can deliver the product to the customer. At that time you may have gained some knowledge, some experiences. So in that by using that experiences, you can apply for another new project which is having a highest profit. So something like that. You should have some market technology, that is market strategies to be required. The second one is a cost estimate uncertainty. If an organization is unsure of its cost estimate, it may increase its price by contingencies over and above its normal profit. Contractual terms. A customer may be willing to allow the developers to retain the ownership of the source code and reuse it in other projects. The price charged may then be less than if the software source code is handed over to the customer. So you may have a contract between the client as well as the organization. that is you want to give a source code. If that is they have a contract with a client, then you can make the same source code to some other project. That is, you can reuse the source code by some little bit of alter in the code. Then it will be a profit for the organization as well as for the team members. Requirements volatility. If the requirements are likely to change, an organization may lower its price to win a contract. So requirements are likely to change, and organization may lower the price to win a contract. So if you required that is a project from the client, then you have to lower the price to win the contract. After contract is awarded, high price can be charged for changes to the requirements. So once you get the contract from the customer, after that, then you can charge us once if you get the that is a project, you can charge for the requirements, day-to-day changes of the requirement. Then you can charge us extra money for the client. So that is also one of the strategy in the factor, that is software pricing. And another one is a financial health. And the developers in financial difficulty lower their prices to gain a contract. It is better to make a smaller than normal profit or break even than to go out of the business. Cash flow is more important than profit in different economic times. So if you don't have that is cash flow, but if you have a project where it takes around 2 to 3 years, but if there is no cash flow, then it's very difficult to run the organization. So that is also important. You should take care of the you have to take the small project for small bidding. Then after when you become stable, then you can go for the higher project or higher profit. So economically you have to be also stable. So this is what are the these are the factors affecting the software pricing. They can ask in the examination, what are the factors affecting software pricing? Market opportunity, cost, estimated uncertainty, contractual terms, requirement volatility, and financial health. These are the 5 factors that affects the software pricing. Okay. Next is a plan-driven development. In a plan-driven or plan-based development is an approach to software engineering where development process is planned in detail. Plan-driven or plan-based development is an approach to software engineering where the development process is planned in detail. So plan-driven development is based on engineering project management techniques and is the traditional way of managing the large software development project. A project plan is created that records the work to be done, who will do it, the development schedule and work product. A project plan is created that record the work to be done, who will do it, the development schedule and the work product. Something like you can see our college timetable, which hour who has to take, and you can see the course plan when or calendar of event when the semester gets end, and when the module 2, module 1, module 3, so module wise when you have to complete which date, and when the first internal, second internals, third internals has to be conducted. That's what beginning itself we have to plan. The same way the project plan has to be planned before start developing the product. So who will do it, the development schedule and the work product. Managers uses the plan to support the project decision making and as a way of measuring the progress. At the same time, once you start developing the project, then the progress of the development of the project has to be measured. Then there is a regular interval of time. Who will measure the manager will measure the progress of the project. So plan-driven development are arguments in favor of plan-driven approach are that early planning allows the organization issues. That is, if you plan early in the before development of the project, then they will resolve some of the issues. What are the issues? One is availability of the staff, other projects, etc., to be closely taken into account, and the potentially problems and dependency are discovered before project starts rather than once the project is underway. So availability of the staffs who are all involved in the project, and the expertise, domain expertise, back end expertise, front end expertise, that is overall as required, has to be planned before itself. Otherwise you may stuck up in the problem where you're not able to deliver the project in time to the customer. At that time you may lose as the customer. At the same time you may lose as the project which is has to be upcoming project also. So you have to carefully have to put a plan of the availability of the staff, etc., related to the project, whether the people has been involved in some other project, and whether they can involve in both the project, that is current project as well as previous project. All the issues has to be considered before start doing a project. Principal argument against plan driven development is that many early decisions have to be revised because of changes to the environment in which the software is to be developed and used. So obviously you can see this even in our PWD, there is a public sector, when civil engineer, when he bid for the development of a road, the development of the road in the 2020, due to some problem, due to some there is a rise in the market of steel, cement, etc., he may bid it, he may charge extra for the submit the bill to the government. So this is what the cost has been increased due to this some problem, and he can charge it and he can claim the amount. The same way even in the software also, due to some environmental problem, or due to some some hardware software, the prices may go up and down. At that time he can there is charge extra, there is money for the client to the company. So project plans. In a plan driven development project, a project plan sets out the resources available to the project, the work breakdown and schedule for carrying out the work. So in the plan section, you can see there is introduction, project organization, risk analysis, hardware and software resources requirements, work breakdown, project schedule, and monitoring and reporting mechanism. So these are the project plan sections. They can ask in the examination, what are the various plan section, project plan section. Then at that time you have to explain these 7 points: introduction, project organization, risk analysis, hardware software resources, work breakdown, project schedule, and monitoring and reporting mechanism. So we'll see that introduction, that it gives objectives of the project, set out the constraints like budget, time, when you want to deliver the project, and what are that affect the management of the project. That comes in the introduction of the project plan section. And the second one is a project organization. That is, it describes the way in which the development team is organized, and overall the people involved in the project development, and what are the roles in the team has to be decided in the project organization. Risk analysis, it something describes the what are the possible project risk, like there is what are the risks arising, and how to reduction this risk has to be proposed in the risk analysis. And the hardware and software requirement, it specifies the hardware and software, and that supports the software required to carry out the development. If the hardware has to be brought and estimate the price of the hardware before delivering the or before installing the hardware to the system, has to be taken care in the hardware and software resources requirements. Work breakdown. So this is what breakdown of the project into various activities, and identifying the milestone as well as deliverables associated with each activity. Something milestone is something like you have a module 1, module 2, something number of modules for the particular software development, and at what time the module 1 has been completed, at what time module 2 is completed, whether module 1 is independent on module 2, so etc. That type of work breakdown has to be considered in the planning section. And project schedule, it is something like when the project has to be delivered to the customer, and whether the milestone or the modules has been completed in time, or whether they have to extend the time for the delivery of the product has to be taken care in the project schedule. Monitoring and reporting the mechanism. This defines the management report. That should be produced when this should be produced, and when the project monitoring mechanism has to be used, whether it's working properly or not, etc. has to be taken care in the monitoring, and reporting entire project report has to be submitted to the customer. So this is what the project plans in the planning section. And you can see that project plan supplements. What are the project plan supplements? In that you have a quality plan, validation plan, configuration management plan, maintenance plan, and staff development plan. In quality plan, it describes the quality procedure and standards that will be used in the project. Something like you can see in company, you can see that CMM level 1, CMM level 2, CMM level 3, like that. So which that's procedure or which standards has to be maintained for the particular project has to be consider. Something like you can see some of the institution have been accredited, that is NBA has been accredited, or in some organization may be accredited NAC. So NBA accredited institution will be high standards than NAC accredited NAC accreditation institution. And some institution may be accredited both NAC as well as NBA, then the standards will be more. So depending upon the standards, the project has to be developed. Validation plan describes the approaches, resources, and schedules used for the system validation. Configuration management plan describes the configuration that is required for the development of the project in the structures to be used. Maintenance plan predicts the maintenance requirements, cost, and effort. Staff development plan describe how the skills of the staffs are used and what are the experiences they have in the project. Team members will be described in the staff development plan. So these are the project plan design development. And next we'll see the planning process. In the planning process, you can see that project planning is an iterative process that starts when you create an initial project plan during the project startup phases. Plan changes are inevitable as more information about the system and the project team becomes available during the project. You should regularly revise the plan to reflect the requirements, schedule, and risk changes. And changing a business goals also leads to changing in project plan also. As the business goals changes, this could affect all the projects which may then have to replan. So you can see this diagram. So project planning process diagram is important diagram. At the beginning of the planning process, you can see that that is identifying the constraints, identifying the risk, and defining the milestone and the deliverables. So once has to be taken care before project planning, identifying the constraint, what are the requirements of the project has to be identified, and identifying the risk, what are the critical of the project arises, and if it is arises, how to resolve that risk has to be considered, and milestone and deliverables. When the particular that is model has to completed, whether it is dependent or not dependent has to be identified in the project planning process initial stages. Then after, define the project schedule. So overall have to develop the project, when has to be developed, and when the project has to be delivered to the customer has to be planned in the schedule. After that, the do work, that is do work. 1 minute. Yes, in the do work, monitoring the progress, against the plan. That is monitoring progress against the plan. That you may a minor problem if you come across in the after developing of a project, minor project, you will see that whether it is a minor project, there is no not a, that much of consideration, then it has moved in this direction. If there is a serious problem, then initiate the risk, how to resolve the problem and replan the project once again. Okay, if there is a no problem, then that is a project is finished. Otherwise, even though there is due to that problem you have come across, you may not complete the project, then unfinished project, once again do the work, redo the work, and once again do the process. At that time, if it is no problem, then work is finished, otherwise redo the work. So this is a continuous process of during the project planning process. So the project scheduling, we'll see it in the next class. Time being, you watch the videos. If you have any doubt, you can clear it in the online session. Thank you.